this book is one of Allah's book. It's protected. No one can harm it. No one can destroy it. No one can take the knowledge.
You have chosen not to understand and not to open up your mind. So you not understanding the Quran and thinking that that is a contradiction, it's not a contradiction. You
Why not?
cannot understand it.
Why
That's
not? When a book says it is a clear book, and then it has unclear things in it, it is a contradiction. God has all the knowledge.
Okay.
He has not revealed everything.
Let me
But if He reveals something and say this is a clear book, and there are things which are not clear, I would say it is a contradiction.
Well,
you can try to explain anyway. Do you have any evidence that Allah of Islam exists other than you take the words of Muhammad?
There actually are.
There are.
I'm going to pull up some verses, but there were signs
Go ahead.
about things about science that
Go
were
ahead.
discovered recently.
Yeah, go ahead.
And let me ask you something. Do you think there are any flaws in the Quran?
Yes,
Okay.
lot of flaws.
You think there's a lot?
Yeah.
Centuries old question has been asked. Allah literally asked in the Quran, find a flaw in it. Now I want you to bring up the flaws you have about the Quran. There's no flaws in it.
I'm going to give you. Go to chapter 12,
What verse?
verse 1. I can give you many. I will start with the simple one. Yeah, what does it say?
These are verses of the clear book.
Yeah,
Is that what you're talking about?
yeah.
How is that a contradiction?
No, that's a contradiction. Read it clearly. Give me that verse. Give me that verse. I will show you.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Here, I got you. Here you go.
You see, it says Alif, Lam, Ra. These are the verses of the clear book.
Yeah.
My question to you, what is Alif, Lam, Ra?
That's not a contradiction.
Watch this Muslim's laugh fade away as the Christian explains the contradiction.
Can I say why it is a contradiction?
Wait, you say because...
Can I say why it is a contradiction?
Okay.
No.
Because it says it is a clear book. And then you have some unclear letters there. That's the contradiction in the Quran.
Hold on, give me. Yeah, let me explain to you why it's not a contradiction and why it's not unclear. Right? So there's multiple instances in the Quran where Allah gives us words or gives us scenarios and hides knowledge from us. There's multiple examples. In Surah Yasin, He says Yasin. Right? And
I know. There are many verses like that. It's a contradiction.
That's not a contradiction. And
no, if the book says this is a clear book, and if there are things which are not clear, then it is a contradiction.
I have a question for you. So you're saying it's not clear, right? What's the message of the Quran? Explain to me. What's the message of the Quran?
What is the message of the Quran?
Yes. What's the whole overall message of the Quran?
You tell me.
A guide for mankind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the whole principle of teaching the Quran, when Allah says that verse, He's saying He's sent a guide. You have no excuse moving forward of I wasn't guided. The truth has came. He has laid the foundation for all of humankind to follow as a manual to how to live your life. So you use this verse, it's that right there, it's just a knowledge from Allah. What does that mean? Allahu A'lam. But that does not mean it's not a clear book. A clear book means what? You understand what it's saying. Even with that word, you still understand. He's saying that this book is one of Allah's book. It's protected. No one can harm it. No one can destroy it. No one can take the knowledge. This book is one of Allah's book. It's protected. No one can harm it. No one can destroy it. No one can take the knowledge.
Is the Quran completely preserved? The claim that Quran is protected and no one can destroy it is just a belief system that has no evidence. In fact, the opposite is true according to early Islamic sources and historical records. Every Quran that was approved by Muhammad is destroyed by Muslims. For example, the first Quran was destroyed, Abdullah bin Masud's Quran was destroyed, Ubayyah's Quran was destroyed, and every Quran that is authorized by Muhammad's companions and produced by the caliphs is lost. For example, Zayd bin Thabit's Quran that was with Hafsa is lost. The copies of Quran commissioned by Uthman are lost. Another evidence that the Quran was not protected and was not preserved is from the fact that there were numerous variant Qurans throughout the history which are different in meaning and theology. For example, 30 official readers and transmitters from 100 to 300 years after the time of Muhammad caused 30 variant Qurans. Out of these 30, the Egyptian government selected just one, the Hafs, as the official Quran in 1924 and destroyed other Qurans by dumping them into the Nile. There are over 100,000 differences between the Hafs and the other 29 official version of the Quran. This official Quran is not identical to any of the surviving Quran manuscripts. Today's official Quran is not based on the Muhammad's approved reciters and has differed even in number of chapters. For example, the reciters approved by Muhammad, Ibn Masud, and Ubay had 111 and 116 chapters respectively, while 1924 Hafs Quran has 114. Today's Quran is different from the Ibn Masud's Quran in hundreds of places. Today's Hafs Quran is not identical to his teacher Asim and has 520 differences from another student of Asim called Shubha. Muslims do not know which one of the 30 Arabic versions of the Quran is the Quran from Muhammad. Instead of Hafs, the Warsh Quran is used in Algeria, Morocco, parts of Tunisia, West Africa and Sudan. Now, Qalun, Al-Duri, Hisham and Ibn Dakuwan Qurans are also used in different parts of the world. Also, since these Qurans are based on Uthman edition and are different from the Quran approved by Muhammad, none of the 30 can be the Quran from Muhammad. There is no Quran from the time of Muhammad, or his companions, or their companions that exists which has 114 chapters and is identical to the Hafs Quran most Muslims use now. In addition to all these, early Islamic sources repeatedly testify that Quran was not preserved. For example, verses were eaten by sheep and is now missing from the Quran. Much of the Quran was disappeared. 2 large chapters are missing from the Quran. About 130 to 210 verses are missing from Surah 33. Verses were added to the Quran. Verses were changed. Verses were modified. Verses were cancelled. The Islamic claim that perfect memorization has preserved the Quran is not true either. Memorization did not preserve the Quran. No one within months of Muhammad's death had completely memorized the Quran. Therefore, Zayd had to resort to the difficult task of collecting from written sources and from the memory of people to collect the Quran, to preserve from further loss after the Battle of Yamama. No one during the time of Uthman had completely memorized the Quran. Therefore, Uthman had to resort to the copy of Hafsa to make copies. Much of the Quran was lost from the memory at the Battle of Yamama. There are additional evidence that proves that memorization failed. Even Muhammad could not remember the Quran perfectly, and Muhammad's companions could not remember the Quran perfectly either. Stephen J. Shoemaker, in page 176 of his book, Creating the Quran, states that a key difference between written and oral cultures, however, is that when something is forgotten in an oral culture, it is obviously gone for good. For those of us in written cultures, we can always go back to a written text and look up what we have forgotten. To conclude, we have seen that Quran was not preserved through physical means or by memorization. Today's Quran is commissioned in 1924 in Cairo, coming from Hafs, who died 164 years after Muhammad. And it is this Quran that is recited by most Muslims. At best, what is preserved is 1924 Hafs Quran and not the Quran of Muhammad or Allah.
Understand, when a book says it is a clear book, and then there are things which are not clear there, it cannot be a clear book. First of all, did I interrupt you?
No, I'll let you speak.
Then another thing is that how many times you pray?
I can speak now?
Yeah.
5 times.
5 times. It is a guidance for mankind, and as a Muslim you pray 5 times.
Right.
Your Quran doesn't have the 5 times prayer saying you have to pray 5 times.
But
where is the clear book? Where is the guidance?
That's not a contradiction. That's not a contradiction.
But the first one is contradiction. I am giving you one more.
Let me explain how that's not a contradiction, right? Have you read the Quran?
Yes.
Do you know Surah Kahf, the story of the cave?
Okay.
Do you know? Are you aware of the story? Do you want me to explain?
What chapter?
Chapter 18.
Yeah, I know.
You are aware of the story of the cave?
I know.
Okay. So Allah says, they will say there were 3, the 4 of them being, the 4th of them being their dog, and they will say there are 5, the 6 of them being their dog. Guessing at the unseen, meaning people try to assume things in the Quran.
Okay.
And they will say that there were 7 and the 8th of them was their dog. Say, O Muhammad, my Lord is most knowing of their number. None knows of them except the few. So do not argue about them except with an obvious argument, and do not inquire about them amongst the speculators of anyone. Meaning, Allah hid this knowledge and chose deliberately not to put it in the Quran. That doesn't mean the Quran is not clear. That means Allah, the most wise, chose for a reason unbeknownst to us. And you as a Christian, you must believe that God does things that humans can't understand, correct? God chose to put this verse in the Quran and this story in the Quran without putting all the details in it for a hidden wisdom. And your God does the same thing. He does things with a hidden wisdom. And just because we don't understand the hidden wisdom of God doesn't mean that it's a contradiction.
No. You can see whatever way you want to. Even that story itself doesn't make sense. What is the point of putting that story? Or some people say 6, some people it says 7, and then it says only Allah knows. Why Allah don't reveal that? What is the point in saying that story? That itself is a human invention.
You hearing me?
Listen, I'm going to leave you with this last thing. It says in the Quran that those who don't want to understand will not understand. Surely those who disbelieve, it being alike to them, whether you warn them or do not warn them, they will not believe. Right? So you have chosen not to understand and not to open up your mind. So you not understanding the Quran and thinking that that is a contradiction, it's not a contradiction. You
Why
yourself
not?
cannot understand it.
Why
That's
not?
a you thing.
When a
Why
book
have
says it is a clear book, and then it has unclear things in it, it is a contradiction.
It's unclear to you
Otherwise,
you
it
don't want to
doesn't
open
say.
up your heart to it. Let me
No,
ask you
so
this.
you
Why
tell
have-
me, is it clear to you?
It is
Alif,
clear to me.
Lam, Ram?
The
What is
letters.
it? Yeah, what
The
is that?
letters. Each letter has a meaning.
What is it? What is the meaning? What is the meaning
I already
of
explained.
Al,
We talked
Lam,
about
Ram?
this.
No, I am
We talked
asking you,
about
what
this.
is the meaning?
We talked about this. There's certain things in the Quran that are hidden
So you do
wisdom.
not know.
Exactly. So let me ask you this.
It's not clear.
Do you know
It's
the
not
reason-
clear what it
Listen,
is.
Let me ask you something. Do you understand? I already explained this to you, and you chose not to accept my
No,
my
no, no, no,
explanation. But let me ask you this: in Christianity, are there things that God does that are that you can't explain? Yes or no?
I don't remember anything that
Okay, so
I
you
cannot
can-
explain.
You can explain everything that God
Everything
does.
that is revealed in the New Testament, I don't see any problem with it. Yeah, except when it is talking about, the future things and the revelation.
okay.
But if it is a teaching,
Well, listen,
I can
listen,
understand.
Listen, okay,
There is
so
no problem.
Alif Lam Ra isn't a teaching; it's letters, right? And the same in Surah Yasin, he says Yasin, and these are letters that we won't understand because he's chosen to. He hasn't deliberately explained them in the Quran. So I'm telling you, there's things you don't understand in your religion because
No.
because your God just chose not to fully explain them in the Bible.
No. Whatever I need to understand, God has revealed in the New Testament.
For the Quran, then. Same thing
But
we need
why
to
that
explain.
Alim, Lam, Ram is there? If God has given Quran to you so that it would be a guidance to you, why there are certain things that you do not understand? What is the purpose?
Do you believe that your God does things with the hidden wisdom that is only known to God, or do you understand that everything God has done? Why did God put that tree there?
Son.
Why did God put every single element? You don't understand. Because
No,
that-
son, I am saying, my God, if it says it is a clear book, and
is
in
a
that
clear
wait, if in that book there are things which are not clear, then it has to be a contradiction.
There's a difference between clear and unknown. Let me finish this, right? You could be explained something and it cannot be clear to you. But if you're not explained that thing isn't clear to you. It's unknown. There's a difference between unknown and not clear. There's a big difference. You're mixing the two, right?
What does clear mean? When it says this is a clear book, what does it mean?
This is a clear book.
Yeah.
I can give you the definition.
What does it
But back to your first point, because I want to address you point by point. You said that Alif Lam Ra, we don't understand it. But I already explained to you that
It's not clear.
No. I explained to you that in Islam, there's certain things that only God has knowledge of, right? That is one of the fundamental beliefs in the religion. There are certain things that only God has knowledge
I
of.
have no problem
But-
with that,
okay, but
son.
I
I have no problem.
Okay, you don't have no
God
problem.
has all the knowledge.
Okay. Yeah,
He
but-
has not revealed everything.
Let me
But if He reveals something and say this is a clear book, and there are things which are not clear, I would say it is a contradiction.
Well,
You
listen.
can try to explain anyway.
What I'm trying to say you is there's things in the religion, right?
I
Alif Lam Ra, I'm just telling you, this is not what I believe. This is what scholars say, right? Alif Lam Ra is one of those hidden wisdoms. And you can disagree and say that's a contradiction, but I'm telling you it's a hidden wisdom.
Basically, you are saying it is not clear.
That's not what
I
I'm saying.
understand that.
That's not